Hey everybody, my name is Greg Melanson. I am the founder of Storylance, and this is the Storylance channel. I've continuously said over the past few years that I want to make more video content, so this is an attempt at that. Because as Storylance has evolved and as I've evolved, what I've recognized is that the company has become more of a philosophy than a simple marketing or branding or video production company. Uh, Everything that I do with the company and with other businesses is rooted from this philosophy. And also the help that I provide is helping other businesses understand their own philosophy, their core spirit, the core essence, um, and their reason for being and why they're doing what they're doing, and to really recognize that fundamentally the messages, the content, the everything that gets put out into the world needs to stem from this core thing, this core essence. And if it was easy to articulate, then it wouldn't need this whole philosophy around it. It's not the easiest thing to articulate. The big why, there are entire books on it, right? But my attempt has been to really, again, dive into that philosophy to understand why things work and why things don't work as far as content being put out. And that's not just in advertising, but it's in film, it's in television, it's in conversations. Sometimes somebody walks up and says something to you and it feels really off. Sometimes somebody walks up and says something to you and it feels like the most comfortable thing in the world. What's going on there? And I think it's the most relevant conversation to be having right now, because we live in a world of so-called misinformation where whatever side anybody's on, they're adamant that they're right in the current topics of the world. So it's very fascinating to me to kind of observe all of this and then try to understand and try to make sense of how do you put out any kind of message in this climate. What is it that we should really be focusing on? And the word that it comes back to for me is resonance. What I've come to understand, and again, this is my experience, my philosophy, my perspective of the world, and I'll go to anybody and everybody and say whatever you feel you have to say, whatever your message is to the world, own that, because we're all meant to be here with a different thing to say. And that's the beauty of this diverse world, is that you've got almost 8 billion people now with 8 billion different perspectives. And the more we can embrace that, the better world we live in. And the biggest conflict in the way of that is this desperate need for there to be one right answer. And it just doesn't work that way. So back to what it is that I do. What's important to me is that whether it's a company or a person, but let's talk about companies because that's who I work with. So I do video content, I do branding and messaging, consulting for different businesses on using emotional storytelling language in order to translate their message. But when I talk about story, when I talk about emotional language, what I'm really, really getting at is what is the essence of this business, and how do you put out a message that's in full alignment with that essence? And that's really a question that can only be answered by how it feels. So it all comes back to the word resonance. what resonates with you. We hear that more and more and more because the world is becoming more intuitive. It's why people are tuning out of the news and tuning into podcasters, right? Because podcasters largely don't have an agenda. They're not corporate funded. So they end up feeling more authentic. And that's important because anything that's built on fraud, you see it with politicians, you see it with, all of that stuff's falling apart right now. And the reason is because people are becoming more intuitive to what is truth and what is not. People are starting to pay attention to what resonates and what doesn't. So the gap I'm trying to fill in the marketing world, in branding, is just to really simplify it and say, what is it that you're actually trying to say? When you came up with the idea for this company, there was an explosion of an idea that said, wow, I have to do this. And if it has gotten to a point where you're doing marketing and branding, that must have been a big idea. It must have been something that actually changed the trajectory of your life. So that's important. That idea matters. It has fuel behind it. It has an energy behind it. And the more you can harness that energy and put it out into your messaging, the more people are going to feel what you felt in that moment when you came up with the idea. And then they're going to understand why it matters. And they're going to want to be a part of it. They're going to want to buy your product over the competition because they feel they can trust you because you're telling the truth. Does that make sense? You're telling the truth. Anything other than that is not telling the truth. Anything other than that, which is here's what people do, here's what branding and marketing does. They give their product, their idea to a company, and then they look out, they do market analysis and spend God knows how much money on that, trying to understand the market. Look at the world right now and try to understand the world right now. And try to say, oh, we know exactly what message these people need. First off, which people? There's like two sides of people saying the exact same things at each other's. The world doesn't make any sense anymore. So the intellectual world doesn't make any sense anymore. But what still does make sense is whether or not something resonates. So that's really it. It's very, very, very simple. And then yes, you need to come up with creative solutions in order to translate that resonance into language. That's where storytelling comes in. Story is always going to be the most prominent avenue or language to translate these kinds of the essence of something. And the essence is a really tough word because the essence of something is like, the way I describe it is like, the way I describe essence is you can't pin it down to the way something looks. You can't pin it down to the way something moves or a person. Essence is like, the way I describe it is imagine somebody that you know really, really well. Okay. And then one by one, start taking away things. Okay. So imagine your best friend and they're sitting right here with you. And start taking away things, not in any grotesque way, but imagine that now it's just a body sitting there, but it's still your friend. Okay. And imagine just take away everything until there's nothing there, but your friend's still there. Does that make sense? It's like, that's who they are. The feeling that you have by your friend sitting next to you, the way the room feels different, that's the essence of that person. And everybody in the world has a unique essence. So if we were able to just understand to leverage that essence that we are, and it's not an easy thing to do. Alan Watts says, trying to know yourself is like trying to lick your own tongue. It's kind of almost a fool's errand. What we really need to do is just act on our highest excitement and understand what resonates and follow that path. And then we become the thing that we are, the person that we are, the true essence of who we are. It's not something you can try to do. The best way that you can achieve your true essence is to get out of the way and get the stuff that you're not out of the way. And then you are what you are. And everybody's a unique flavor of expression. Totally unique. And how amazing is it to know that like there's 8 billion different perspectives of the world. People see things differently. And when we meet people that we feel this connection with, is because there is some resonance there. There's harmony there, kind of like the strings on a guitar, right? They're not all exactly the same, but when you play them together, you get a really nice sound. That's exactly how this world works. It's resonance. It's harmony. And this matters, not just in life, but in business, in messaging. It matters more than ever right now. It matters more than ever to speak from a voice that is abundantly true, that is like powerfully true, that is from the core of why you're doing what you're doing. And to not be scared that people won't get it, and not be scared that like, oh, if the messaging is like, people don't like that word because blah blah blah, like, if it's coming from your soul, then just say it. Like, and what happens is that companies that succeed, in my mind, companies that succeed are the ones that like don't get ruined by an agency that's trying to tell them what to say in order for people to get them. Because the agency doesn't get you. The agency often makes you a company that is similar to another company and says like, oh, these guys have succeeded by doing this, so let's do this. That's not really what becomes successful in this world anymore. And I really don't think so. And this is all my perspective. I don't know anything. I don't have a marketing degree. I don't have a business degree. I'm just observing. I'm just trying to make sense of it, because, you got people out there saying with this like bravado that like only 10% of new businesses succeed. I'm like, why is that? Why are you all buying into a system that pumps out a 10% success rate? So there must be something different. And I think businesses are just like people. So if you were to say, I've used this analogy a lot, but not in a video before. If you were to say, have a date lined up next week, and, what would you do? What would be the advice that you get when you're going on this date? It would be very simple. Be yourself. But the way business works and branding and marketing is, okay, you've got a date with the market, as in you got to put your message out there and have people like you. So it would be the equivalent of somebody having a date next week, and they follow the person around for the week, and they take notes, and they say like, oh gosh, I think their favorite color is turquoise, so I'll bring my turquoise shirt. Oh, I think they like this, so I'll make sure, like, it's literally the opposite of what you do as a person, is try to be what you think they want you to be. So any kind of marketing or branding that is based on that, in my mind, in my opinion, is fraudulent, and it's insecure, and it's saying that they won't like who I actually am. So I got to be more like I got to say what McDonald's said, because then they'll like me because they like McDonald's. It's like, no, that's really not how it works. What people want is a feeling. They want resonance. They want truth, because truth is the only thing that resonates. That's the secret behind resonance, is truth. It's all truth. So like, if something feels off, it's because it is off. If something feels like it bubbles you up with goosebumps, it's because it's the truth. And people have it all backwards. They go to movies and they think like, oh, a movie like it's about these fundamental universal truths like love and courage. Just make people bubble up, because your spirit, your higher self, wants you to be courageous. It wants you to be in love. It wants you to be brave. It wants you to be fearless. Now we're getting on a whole nother topic, but you can see the things that I really want to talk about with this channel and with my business, because it's all related. And the most, best thing that I have done is to, again, build this business. And it doesn't matter. Here's the thing too. The business, if your business is based on your philosophy of life, it really can't fail. Like, you're never going to lose. Because if you feel something matters deep in your soul, and you're not basing what you're doing on the opinions of others, or the, hey, the millennials like red, so I'm going to paint myself red today. Like, if you're actually going out and being the purest expression of what you feel is the truth, and then you build your business comes out of that, then that you can't fail. So yeah, I don't know how to end these, but that's all I wanted to say today. I hope to make a lot more content, and it's so that people can really understand what Storylance is, who I am, what I care about, and how I might be able to help when I am working with individuals or businesses to help get your message out to the world in a very powerful way. It's all about resonance and truth.